Hey, what's going on, guys? So, I'm going to try to make this video again. This is about the fourth time that I've tried to make it. And the reason I'm having difficulty is I'm feeling rather philosophical today. And had something that popped up in my head that I was thinking about. And I want to share it. But I'm not exactly sure how to put it into words. So I'm gonna give it a shot. Like I said, I think this is the fourth time. So let's see what happens here. When I was growing up, I used to watch a show on TV, and if you're not familiar with it, please go do a search and familiarize yourself, because then maybe it will make some sense. But by the way, is that a beautiful sky or what? No streaks, none of those trail things, if you know what I mean. Anyways, growing up, I used to watch a show on TV called Grizzly Adams. And it was one of my favorite shows. And you had this guy, I don't know the whole story, but supposedly he was unjustly charged with a crime or convicted. I don't really remember. I'd like to go back and watch them all. And so he was kind of running from the law, and he went out in the woods. I don't know if it was Alaska, Montana, or where it was at, but he went out in the wilderness. This was like back in the 1800s, maybe earlier than that. And he built a cabin, and he survived. And he was on his own. He was one of the only ones around, other than there were Indians out there that would come around, and he ended up befriending some. But the show would document, of course this was fiction, the show would document his trials and tribulations and his adventure. And he also, it was really cool, he ended up befriending a bear named Ben, that he named Ben, and they became like best friends. And Ben would come around once in a while and help him out of a jam. So my point is, you know, you looked at that, and it was kind of a portal into a world that has long since gone. You could kind of say the same thing with a lot of Westerns. You know, growing up, I used to watch a lot of Westerns, and, you know, you had people that would get in their horse and buggy and their covered wagons, and they would travel hundreds of miles, if not thousands of miles, and searching for a place that they could establish themselves and create a life. And oftentimes, you know, this was homesteading, that they would just go, and if there was nobody around, they would establish themselves, and they would build a cabin, build some kind of structure, develop the land, start planting gardens. If there was a town nearby, they would have commerce, they would do trade, they would do tasks for people to earn money or earn credit in the local stores. And it was a very basic existence. I don't want to use the word primitive, but it was a very basic existence. Tremendous amount of freedom. I will say that. When you look at Grizzly Adams and you looked at, you know, a lot of these old Westerns, there was a tremendous amount of freedom and free will, that people could do almost anything that they wanted to do. Now, that could also be dangerous, but that's another video. And you fast forward to today and do a comparison. You are born into the world and you basically are in a household, with your parents, siblings, and you own nothing. And somehow the modern world, and this has happened over many, many years, the modern world has removed your ability to do what Grizzly Adams did with his Bear Ben, and many of the Westerners, Western cowboys and settlers did. It's removed the ability to go out and establish yourself on a piece of land and be independent. Now, I know there's people out there saying, no, that's not true at all. Jake, you and Maine Prepper Girl, you guys bought a place in Maine, and you guys are working on a homestead and a few acres, and you're trying to become as self-sufficient as possible. And yes, that's true. Here, I guess here's what I'm trying to get at. Back then, and maybe I'm wrong, I could be wrong, but it seemed like that people it's almost like they had a God-given right to go out and find their piece of land, drink water from the streams, take game from the fields, and establish themselves a home in nature. And they could sustain themselves or not. They could fail. Today, we have to buy everything from other people that own things. We, for the most part, have to buy water. We have to buy food. We have to buy land. And of course, you can get water from a well. We have a well on our property. But if we don't pay the taxes on our property, is that really ownership? If we have to basically provide a lease payment every year in the form of property taxes? If we don't pay that, they will come and put a lien on the property. They will take it from you. We can grow a lot of our food, and if we put forth enough effort, we could possibly provide 100% of all our own food with chickens and stuff like that. And in many places, check out that car driving by. Man, love those old classic cars. A lot of memories right there. So, again, you look at government and you look at industry and special interest groups, lobbyists, and they are regulating the seeds that you could plant your food with. They're regulating much of the fertilizer that you would use in your gardens. They're regulating the chickens, the goats, and everything else that you could have on your property that you could sustain yourself. They're regulating the milk that would come out of a goat or a cow. And in many, many places, it's literally against the law to do that which you want to do on your own property. And I guess that's really what I'm trying to get at. Somehow, in today's world, you have to get permission to do much of what you were able to do completely free, other than the sweat off your brow, the sweat equity. And it's actually kind of sad. So, you know, I know that there are places, I believe still in Alaska, up in Canada. I'm not sure about anywhere else. You know, western Maine and northwestern Maine is largely uninhabited. But I believe that land is owned by logging companies. So I think that there are some places in the United States and in Canada that you can still homestead. You could go out and do what was done, you know, well over 100 years ago. And you can pick out a piece of property. I'm sure that it still involves the government, and make a go of it. I don't know. I don't know if that made any sense. I'm going to go ahead and end it right here because I'm not doing it a fifth time. I'll just go ahead and say I appreciate you guys stopping by. You know, comment below any thoughts that maybe you have from listening to this, and that's it. So I appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you in the next one.
So I ran from the cities and the noise and lies, found a piece of ground under open skies, hands in the dirt, sweat on my shirt, learning what living's really worth. While crooked men shake hands in rooms, selling souls to corporate suits. Society's sick, but I found the cure. A back road life, honest and pure. They can keep their throne and their golden news. This life out here's my modern exodus. I traded screens for a sunrise, callous palms, blisters, pride, planted seeds where hope was.